Hi everyone, and welcome to a very different video on this channel than you're used to, because this one is actually in English. And that has a very special purpose, because I decided to try out the new series called What Does the World Think About Czech Republic? And that is because I have the great opportunity of going to an international university where I have many international friends. And I thought, well, it could be cool for us Czechs and also people interested about Czech Republic to know what people from other countries think. And I decided to take my first guest here to less formal environment, to a pub I've never been before. We got some Pilsner Urquell, and we're gonna talk about Czech Republic, because my guest is John Paul LoGuiudice, who is from where?
So I'm from Peabody, Massachusetts. It's a small city north of Boston. I grew up there and I spent most of my life in this city. I also had a house in New Hampshire, like a lake house.
Nice.
When I was younger. It was very small, kind of in this trailer park, but it was really awesome. It was a good experience. So largely from New England is what I would say regionally, but.
And the question before, of course, we get to why the hell are you here?
So it's a funny story, because I used to go to a college called Bridgewater State University.
Bridgewater, is it also Massachusetts, or?
It is, yep. It's in southern Massachusetts. It's very famous for the cranberry bogs that dominate the area. So a lot of the farmers, they go out and they harvest these cranberries. I used to walk along the bog sometimes with friends. Bridgewater State is a large school, and when you picture, well, not too large, but when you picture like a college campus, like in your head, like an American college campus with the trees and the buildings and and it's all kind of self-contained. That was where I used to go to school. I went there for 3 semesters, and then in the fall of 2019, I decided that I wanted to come study, and I chose Prague. There were some events that occurred from January to March, known as COVID.
Yeah.
I also had a death in the family as well, so I had to fly back and forth like 4 or 5 times, and it was awful. But I went home in March. I finished my college work. I decided to take a break from school in September of that year, and I was sitting with one of my friends, and we talked about how if I would ever go back. And I just reached out and saw if they would take my credits, and long story short, here I am, and I have 1 more year left before I graduate, hopefully.
Who knows, the grades are...
You never know. I'm not the best student, but I always try my hardest. So.
What impresses me about you is that you try a lot to travel around Czech Republic. Usually you travel with your friends, right? What was the idea behind you, because many students here, they're usually just in Prague and maybe they visit like a Brno, but you decided to go maybe to lesser known locations. What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so again, during COVID, I kind of found a passion for hiking. I would hang out with my friends and we would go on these hikes, across the state of New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont. I haven't done Maine yet, gotta do Maine. Can't forget about them. But I love cities and I love exploring them. I went to Budapest last semester, I went to Amsterdam, I went to a couple other places. I even went to Tromsø, Norway to see the Northern Lights, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I've chosen these smaller places because I've actually looked up the tallest mountains in Czech Republic, and I see it as kind of like a challenge to just go out and hike in these places, especially when I'm so far from home, and it's such a different place. And I really appreciate how this country has so much to offer in terms of hiking. I mean, you have if I'm saying it right, the Krkonoše Mountains, or the National Forest, or whatever you call it. That's a beautiful spot. But what I really liked doing was I took the Prague, right? I took Prague in the center, and I drew out these lines to the different parts of the country, because I know the border between Germany and Czech Republic, for example, is pretty mountainous. There's the different mountain ranges there, the Ore Mountains, Šumava, the Krkonoše, Czech Switzerland. I'm not sure how to say it.
That's fine.
The České Středohoří is it's another range I've kind of looked into, but I really just wanted to kind of see the different corners of the country. You know, I really want to be able to say that I traveled through this country and saw a lot of its natural wonders and hiking areas, because I see that meter count as like just another challenge, you know. But I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not going to go do Everest at this moment.
It doesn't seem like we know, but who knows? You know? Who knows? I mean, you've been to Sněžka. That's 1,602 meters.
Yeah, it was kind of cold.
When did you go there?
I went in late November with friends.
Okay, yeah, could be colder.
It was pretty chilly. There was a lot of wind and oh man! But it was, you know, these trips that I take when I go hiking with friends, with students, with anybody. To me, it represents more than just, you know, going out and hiking around in the wilderness. Like, for example, I did at my school here at UNIP that we both go to, obviously. I did a trip to this town called Lovosice.
Yeah.
Lovosice?
Yeah.
And there's, just correct me, obviously,
it's
if
fine,
I say it wrong. But there's a hill nearby, Lovoš, and it was very convenient to get there. It was you get on the train and you go from Prague to Lovosice, and then we walked to the foothill of the mountain and then climbed up. And it was really special because at the top there's all these great views. I think everybody had a great time, and I kind of just wanted to show not only my knowledge but my passion for these things, and kind of show people a good time, you know, where you can see the views. It's not too long of a hike. I think that's important. You know, people want to take pictures. They want to have a nice view at the top. Some of the mountains I've done are very not photogenic. Sometimes there's trees at the top, and
yeah, you don't have much of a view there, you know.
And that happens occasionally. But you know, all around, to answer your question, I just wanted to explore some of the highest points in this country, and for me, that's also a duplicative, if you would say, because it's like, I'm seeing the countryside.
Yeah.
I'm also doing what I love. I love hiking. I'm seeing the country. You know, sometimes on the bus I'll sit on my phone and look at the maps and see which highway I'm on. Just familiarizing myself with the area. But your country has a lot to offer, and I think it's very beautiful, and people should explore it more.
How did you find the nature, like in terms of maybe like a comparison to what you're used to? Is it similar, or is it a big difference? Or is it like, how did you consider the nature when you came in and first started to travel around? Like, was it like, oh yeah, this seems fine, or was it like, oh, this is very different from what I'm used to? So,
in terms of climate, things are very similar. I find that the vegetation here and the trees, they all look very similar, you know, and I'm sure there's some differences that a biologist or whatever field someone's in can point this out, but I can just look and see that they're very similar, but there's a few different things. I gotta say, the mountains I've climbed in New England are often very barren in the sense of there's not a lot of human activity. You know, you pull up to a fucking dirt lot and you get out of the car and you start hiking. In the Czech Republic, I don't have a car. And it's nice that I can take a bus or a train to the foot area of where I'm going. Oftentimes it's in a town, so you walk out of the town and then begin. In the Czech Republic, I've noticed some of the areas are paved, some of them are not paved. Sometimes there's a car that drives by on your way up, depending on what kind of mountain it is, or like maybe there's a resort nearby. So I think the architecture that is found in the Czech Republic is a bit different. It's a bit more inhabited. I know that there are mountains in New Hampshire where you have like ski areas. These areas are usually kind of on their own. Like they're kind of in their own space. Whereas here, I notice like you're gonna correct me, please. Spindlerov
Spindlerov-Mlýn, yeah.
Spindlerov-Mlýn. Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough.
It's a nice ski resort there.
Yeah.
Luxurious.
And there were, you know, a lot of restaurants and houses there. What I notice in America, it's like a lot of these towns are on the main roads and the mountains are further away, and they're usually depopulated. But big lack of human activity in the States. Some of the mountains I've done here, or even hills, they have like a bar on top or like some place to get food.
Sněžka has a post office there.
Yeah, there's several buildings on the top actually. They were all locked when I got up there, so no warming up for me that time.
Too cold. I mean, also Sněžka is a very popular location, so there's, like, during summer, there's so many people that are going up there. It's crazy, like, it's a lot.
Yeah, and I think before I leave here, I want to do another hike. Definitely this semester before I leave. Next semester, I will always want to do more hiking, I think.
What is the plan? Pradět?
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Like maybe we could do something like that someday. But it's a great it's a great hike. From what I've heard, like it has the tower you were telling me about,
which actually makes it the highest place in Czech Republic because the top of the tower is higher than Sněžka.
It's pretty interesting. I want to do Plachenstein. I see it as labeled as both. It's
like
very
in
close.
German?
Yeah, and what I was going to say
is
it's very close to the triple border point between the Czech Republic, Austria, and Germany.
Yeah.
So I'd want to see that too. The wildlife there looks very interesting, but I think the main difference here is that you can go hiking without a car. In the United States, or in New England, for example, where I live, I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I know that I was looking into taking a bus from Boston to the White Mountains, but it costs quite a bit of money. Yeah. It just makes more sense to drive at that point. Which I think is great, but it can also be problematic. What if someone's in my position here in the Czech Republic, for example, where I wanted to do a hike, but everyone had to get on a train. You can't do that in the United States. So colleges are very limited in this way, like from organizing these events, I think, in my area, because there's just not a lot of public transport to support this kind of
how do you find the public transport here? Like in terms of maybe not just in Prague, because I think the para-public transport in terms of like cities of what I traveled around is actually above average. But maybe like outside the city, how would you find that? You go by trains and buses, you said?
Yeah, so trains, buses. In the city, I use the metro, I use the trams that kind of dominate the landscape of the city. I gotta say, in Prague, it's wonderful. I think everything works very well. Sometimes there's a repair on the road or something.
Yeah, right now there's a lot now.
Yeah, and I love to see the construction. It's really evidence of like a living, breathing city. But I think the tram networks here can kind of show, again, a lesson of diversification of transport networks. I think that's huge. And I think a lot of cities in the world can benefit from this type of activity where you have trams on the road. It's different than the metro, it's more visible. So perception-wise, I think it works very well. I think in terms of like how the system actually works, very well in Prague. Outside of Prague, the trains operate pretty well. I've never had a problem. The buses are pretty good too. I think some of them being cash only is problematic just as a foreigner. I'd love to see card implemented, but again, that's like a very small problem.
It's going to be hard to pay for a card with this like 7 crowns or something, right?
Yeah, and I was going to say it's very, very cheap. I don't know about 7 crowns, but it's...
Well, you can go with the student discount. You can get very good prices.
Yeah, and I think the price point is good. That's another strength of the transportation network here, especially with the student discount. It's good. You always run into those trains that are kind of not well kept. There's graffiti everywhere, and but that's occasional, and that happens, and I understand that. And that happens in every country. It's not something specific to the Czech Republic or to the United States or to like you have infrastructure that is good, and you have some that's bad, and that's just part of it.
Well, when talking about city, like we talk a bit about the nature, right? But when it comes to the city, and we will probably like the main city you are in is Prague. We're in Prague right now, of course. But how do I think when you compare it to the American cities, there's a major difference, right? It's completely a different world. I mean, if you see it around European cities, there's similarities, but was it because was Prague the first European?
I actually traveled to Dublin when I was
Dublin,
senior in high school.
Okay.
On like a big trip with my school and with another school. That was a lot of fun. There was some drama on the trip, which I won't necessarily elaborate on, but some people had to go home. But it was a wonderful like experience. Like I had such a good time. Dublin.
Well, no, we're in Dublin.
Now we're talking about Dublin. Yeah. Dublin's a great city. You know, I can't talk enough about Ireland. It was a bit dirty. The street was a bit dirty, but it's good. Like, it was a very solid city. They had great history. I went to Scotland. I went to Belfast. Beautiful places. Belfast, some of the nicest people I ever met. I went into a restaurant and they couldn't be more accommodating.
Nice.
And nice. And Scotland was great for the nature, but at that point in my life, I wasn't doing that just yet. Like, I wasn't there yet.
When it comes to Prague, is it like?
So I think Prague is a very well-kept city compared to all these other cities I've visited. It's funny, I've seen more European cities than American cities at this point.
Nice.
I have to do better for my, you know, for anyone watching this in America, I'll do better. But I think European cities have a lot of things in common. But if I'm talking specifically about Prague, it's clean, it's safe. I've had only 1 or 2 bad interactions or unsafe interactions in my time here. But I'm still breathing. I'm still sitting here. You know, some places you're out at the wrong hour, and it wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation. You know, 5 a.m. outside is not the best time to do anything. You know, especially in a city at night. Which, you know, but it's good. I really think Prague has a lot of strengths that a lot of cities don't have. I think that the historical nature of the city is wonderful. A lot of cities, you know, post World War II do not look or feel the same as they did before it. Prague definitely has saved most of its city from this kind of, you know, history. The Prague Castle is amazing. The St. Vitus Cathedral, can't get enough of it. Even the Náměstí Míru right up the road here.
Oh yeah, I love Náměstí Míru.
It's wonderful. I go in there sometimes just to be at peace and
it's a nice,
and take a break from it all, you know. And it's a wonderful place. Obviously, I think Prague as a whole is a very good city. Like, if I was going to rate it 1 to 10, I don't know if I'd ever give any city a perfect 10, but this is definitely an 8 or a 9. Like, Prague is
that's
just
nice.
It's a very homely town. It's and it's very multinational too. You know, there's people in this city from all over the world, and I always appreciate that. As much as I want to know the Czech culture, I'm really trying to dip my fingers and see like how the rest of the world does things. And, you know, kind of going back to why I'm here. You know, part of me wanted to just stay in America and finish my college education at that other school that I mentioned. But part of me figured, if I want to spend this money and I want to spend this time, I really want to do it somewhere where maybe I could pick up, you know, parts of another language. Maybe I can understand how people around the world do something, so that, you know, when I go back home and if I decide to make some changes and kind of get involved in my nation's politics, I would love to bring some of these ideas in, especially from the European Union, because I think ideas from abroad can be very useful. They can also not be, but they can be very useful. They're ideas from abroad. They're ideas from all over the world. People need to talk. People need to speak, and and sharing ideas is so important. You know, and that's exactly why I appreciate you having me on the show and
the first guest as well.
Yeah. So
I mean, I was still unsure what how I'm gonna do it. I'm probably gonna be like listen. You know, more of a it's gonna be more a listening experience. Of course, I hope the sound is not that bad with the pub. I think it should be fine.
I'm sure it'll be okay, dude.
Yeah. But we mentioned, of course, Prague, with, you know, beautiful city. But it's not the only, like, architecture is not the only thing, right, that makes a city a good city.
Of course.
It's also, you know, the locals and the people that are living there and the vibe of the city. Would you say that maybe, of course, sometimes you don't interact only with Czechs, right? You also interact with people from other countries, with tourists, with other students. But in terms of the comparison between an American and a Czech, would you say, is there a big difference? And like, maybe what's the defining factor that it's very different? And now, no matter what you say, it's completely fine. It's just an opinion. So
yeah, of course,
I hope nobody will be offended if you say something negative, or I think it should be fine.
The whole offended thing, you know, I would hope not. You know, we're just talking.
It's an opinion, you know. You could be wrong. I could be wrong.
People are going to blow up the comment section. What's the matter with you? I think one of the key differences is the people in the Czech Republic, I think, have just this way about them that I find very admirable. You know, you guys are very industrious people. I think that you work very hard and that you have this kind of this way. I think there's a more deep-seated culture in the Czech Republic that is entrenched rather than America, where it's like just a different kind of culture. Like there's, it's just vastly different in terms of what, you know, maybe this can apply to politics too. This can apply everywhere, but I think Czech Republic has its values and they're proud of them, and I kind of respect that in a group of people.
I mean, for me, when I went to the US, I went to California, and the major difference is like the how people approach you. They're so interactive. You know, something that I usually consider to be a bigger difference. We're more like, you know, we get some distance.
Okay.
But I realize that Americans often are very approach. You know, like they will talk to you, they will approach you. They have very open questions.
Yeah, and I think that's part of. I think that's part of like the, you know, this so-called national character we're kind of seeing here. I think Americans are that we're just brought up in this system where, you know, you want to ask questions, you want to be kind of involved and communicative like that, and it's all part of like, there's a very entrepreneurial spirit in this country too. But if we're looking at America just for a second, there's a very like if you don't ask for something, or if you don't like go for it, you're not going to get it no matter what. And I think that's important in kind of deciphering that behavior you saw in California, because people will tend to kind of move in this way, you know. But I really think that after, you know, studying abroad for some time now and kind of seeing the world, and, you know, I've talked to people all the way from Portugal to like, you know, Japan or Kazakhstan, like every country in between. I'm noticing that most of the time people are very, you know, they're good people. People are good, you know, and it's nice to see, even in all of these different cultures and languages and alphabets that these people use, that there's always some common ground and there's always some human traits that you just can't like subdue. You know, you look around the world today, especially when this video is being filmed, there are, you know, kind of crazy things happening, and people are just people, you know, and I'm big on that. But I do think each country has a little flavor to their people, you know, each little region. You know, my region might not be the same as California, for example, or vice versa. But
I mean, what I realized when I came to an international university, like, while you think that it's not like you say that the Germans are like that, Italians like that, but you come in and you see that these like little differences actually, you know, are visible, and you see, like, you can actually see by somebody's behavior. I, for example, realized that, again, it's no offense, like people from like Korea or Japan are they're more, you know, secretive, more inside them. They're not as expressive. They will not be in class. They will not be super vocal. They will be more, you know, quiet, usually very intelligent. I mean, I would like to talk to you about Czech Republic more, but I thought like the format, because for me it's an experiment. For me it's like, how the hell I'm gonna figure out this video.
Yeah. No, it's good though, because
it's like 20-30 minutes right now. So
yeah,
it's
like I've spent most of my time in Prague, and I just interact with these international people as well. But I also have seen the countryside a bit. I would say I've been to the Czech Republic, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you know, I lived in Prague, but I've been to the Czech Republic.
Yeah. You know the history quite well. I mean, there's always been the saying that Americans, they don't know anything about European countries and European history, but you are well knowledge.
I've seen the BuzzFeed videos and the articles and like the videos about they're asking Americans what European geography is.
It's not that.
My only defense of that is we're very insular in the teaching of kind of history and geography in some senses. We have courses in high school, for example, that talk about other parts of the world, but in terms of like the national curriculum or like the national recommendations, you know, No Child Left Behind for people who were around with President Bush. We always talk about like the insular geography. Some Americans don't even know where other certain states will be, though. You know, like it's so far away. But my only rebuttal to that is I've asked some Europeans where Kansas is, and they have no clue. So it's kind of like you see these regional differences like appear, you know, and I bet you it's very similar to maybe some countries in Asia, remarking on which European country this is or which American state that is. I think that there is a kind of layering effect to this geography and historical teaching that we need to look at. But I think you're right. Like, we could do some work on geography.
Well, everybody needs to get.
But part of what I think makes America special in this way is we're always working to do better. I really do believe that, you know. And I think our history can be pretty dark sometimes, but it can also be really light, and there's also goodness that shines through that. And I think every country has these moments, including the Czech Republic.
Yeah, of course.
I very much look up to the fact of how 1989, 1990, 1991, you know, the formation of the. Is that Václav Havel?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
National hero. Love the airport.
It's a good airport, yeah.
Yeah, it's very clean and very well taken care of. You know, very reminiscent of what I think Prague to be. You know?
Overpriced, but yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? But you know, Václav Havel was a very interesting character. He was a good. I think he was an actor, right? Like a playwright.
Playwright, yeah.
Yeah, so he. Pretty pivotal figure in the Czech Republic, and I think that's.
I mean, he got a standing ovation in the capital, I think. Yeah. How did you find the beer, by the way?
I'm glad we're talking about this. I'm glad we're on this now. The beer is wonderful. The beer in this country is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. That's
in price, in taste, and in culture. You can really taste that they care about it. You know.
I mean, I think it's like part of our blood now, and you cannot disrespect Czech beer. That is
of course
that is the problem.
I know you and the Germans have this thing about whose beer is better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just go ahead and stay silent and talk about what I know, but I know that Czech beer is very good. My first time I was in the Czech Republic, how I'm basically gonna talk about it is I was on exchange at the college we're at now. And then I came back and started to finish my degree. So this exchange period, they took us on a trip to Pilsen. I went into the factory with them, with some people. We saw like the different areas around the town, and it was just wonderful. You know, like it was cool to see everything. The beer, I think Pilsner might be my favorite Czech beer. I gotta say.
Yeah, this is Pilsner. I just finished it. I like Kozel too. Gambrinus is here. I'm not such a fan, but.
I've had Kozel and Staropramen.
No, these are decent. I mean, Pilsner is just a good beer. I mean, this one costs 50. It's becoming a normal price now. But when you go outside of Prague, the prices of beer are usually lower. I mean, you could probably get like 42 would be a normal price.
There's this whole thing about the beer is cheaper than water.
I mean, depends. But yeah, sometimes yeah.
I was just saying, I heard before I came here.
If you go to the supermarket, then you get the bottles. They are actually they can get like 10 crowns, and you will probably not get a water under 10 crowns.
It's such a relief to come and drink beers here at this price, because at home, if you want to go to the bar, especially in my area, it's
after 21 as well.
Yeah, and it's expensive. Like, these things are expensive. I would sooner like drink at my buddy's house than. I mean, I'd go to the bar in the right social setting, but I just get aggravated at the prices. These places are very expensive, and the cost of living in my area is kind of ridiculous, if you ask me. But what are you going to do about it? You know, it's like that's why I love coming here and experiencing, because I think the beer here is really culturally entrenched.
It is very much,
and it's great.
I mean, drinking in Czech Republic is fun. It always is, and probably always will be. Well, thank you very much, JP. John Paul, JP. That's how we call you at UNIP. Thank you very much for coming in. We at least have a chance to finish beer. Maybe we'll have another one. We'll see based on the mood.
Yeah, I gotta finish mine too.
Because it does taste quite good. And maybe I'll see you again. I hope how the series will go. We'll see. But you are a knowledgeable man, of course. Thank you very much. I would cheer with you, but my beer is finished. I'll get another one actually, maybe.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure being on the show today, and I just gotta say that it's nice to see someone taking the kind of effort to like put something like this together. Like, you're a student as well, and it's nice to see you. You're always hardworking and doing something different. So it's very good.
I mean, the main thing is effort. Then you'll just see. You can just put it out there and see what happens with it. Sometimes it doesn't get the numbers. Sometimes it doesn't get the appreciation. But if you do it with heart, it's gonna be fine.
That's a great mentality.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great mentality because
Just try it.
You have to try something.
I mean, that's how I'm just talking right now the whole time. It's like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. I don't know how the sound is. I never used this mic before, and we're in a louder environment. I don't know how this is gonna be, but let's just try it out. We'll see. We'll see.
It's worth it. I think it's always worth it to give it a shot.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, JP.
All right, thank you.
See you next time, and thank you all for listening or watching, and hopefully see you in another episode. This was fun, and we'll try to also like divert it to a different area, maybe with the next guest, maybe food, music. You know, there's a lot of things to dive into. Thank you very much.
All right.
See you. Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Nice job, dude. Nice job.